Namaskar. Welcome to this session of coping with the loss of year one in the series of Bhagavad Geeta in daily life. We know how difficult it is to cope with the loss of a near and dear one in life, and we need to understand that the only certainty of life is death. Everything else is uncertain in life, but from the day we are born, death is the only reality, it is the only certainty. And how we can understand this, what our scriptures tell us about death, how we can cope it up, what is that understanding that we should have? Let us see this in this session. So what is death? Our scriptures tell us what is death. We generally don't discuss it routinely, but we need to understand what is death. So death is essentially the end of the physical body. This physical body that we can see comes to an end, which is called Sthula Sharira. It comes to an end, and that is what is called Mrityu. At the same time, when the physical body comes to an end, there is an inner body, which is also called Jiva or the Sukshma Sharira, which goes on an onward journey, and it does Gati. It goes to an onward journey. And this is what is an understanding of our Sanatan Dharma, our Vedic Parampara, that we believe in rebirth. We believe that there is a cause and effect relationship, and that's how we get new birth based on what we do in this life. And this is according to our actions, according to our karma. If we do a good karma, we get a better birth. If we don't do good karma, then we don't get a good birth. And there are different yonis, there are different lokas, how it has been described in our Vedic Parampara. And accordingly, we may get birth in any of these 84 lakh, 84 lakh yoni, the species, depending on what kind of karma we do. And this is the law of karma, the karma phala theory, as we call it, the law of karma through which it is decided. But out of all these 84 lakh yonis, our scriptures tell us that our human life is the most rare, and it is the most important because it's the greatest gift to us as we get a human birth, because it is in this human birth alone that we have the potential to attain the supreme divinity, to attain the highest goal of our life. And this is what we can do in only this birth. And all the other yonis, all the other animal species, they're all the bhoga yonis. They all keep doing karma, bhoga, to spend their karma. They do bhoga. That is all. They cannot accrue new karma, or they cannot do good karma and elevate themselves. And we need to have that understanding, that faith in this system that has been created by the Creator, the Lord, the God Himself, and He takes care of all this. Who is doing what karma? That super intelligent, super power, that super computer analyzes all these actions of each of these yonis, takes care, takes note of these, not just the actions, but the bhava, with what attitude we do those actions. Those are also considered, and based on all this, we get the new janam. So this is what is life and death. And death is not a full stop according to our scriptures. It is just a transition into a new life, into a new body. And that's why it is more like a continuation of life. It is like a comma rather than a full stop. So how can I be composed in death of a near and dear one? With what should be my understanding when I face with such a kind of a situation? Collectively, as we know, death is not a big event. We read daily in newspapers, we see in social media, in news, that in this natural disaster, some 400 people died. In this war, 200 people died. In this area, so many people are dying every day because of a lot of natural disasters, man-made disasters, wars, and lots of other terrorism. But when it comes to individual, somebody whom I know has passed away, somebody who has been very unexpected, in the young of life, prime of life, somebody who's very dear to me, near to me, passes away, then I feel the most. And that's why the understanding is that death itself is not the very big thing, but my knowledge, my attachment, my relationship to that person makes it a very big event for me. So this understanding that we already saw, that that's a physical body, the yogi purush, the wise people, the man with wisdom, they understand that this body is like our clothing, and that's why they don't feel so much when their near and dear ones die. And they know that the Sukshma Sharir continues in another body. But the pure consciousness, Atma Tattva, the Atma, there is no change, it remains eternal. That is what Shri Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita, and this is what we need to understand. So what we fear, humans, we fear our own death the most, and that's why we do all possible things to avoid this. We have so much of anxiety sometimes. We go meet the doctors for our diseases, get the treatment because we want to prevent, we want to avoid death. Everyone wants to do that, and that's one of the highest fears, and that's one of the causes for lots of fears and psychiatric ailments and lots of other problems. But the fear of the death of a family member is also very, very powerful. And then because of the attachments to all of our family members, we have this fear that what happens if my close ones or near and dear one passes away? What will happen? How can I be able to bear this kind of shock? And this is what we will see today. So let's start with the first shloka of the second adhyaya, when Shri Krishna starts giving unfolding the message, the timeless wisdom of the existence, of the reality behind this existence. He starts his teaching with this first shloka where he says, Arjuna, you don't need to feel sad for what is not worth, and you are speaking like a wise man, but for those people who have left us and those who are still with us, wise people do not grieve. Pandita na anushochanti. So what is that understanding of the wise man? And that is what Shri Krishna tells in the next few shlokas. What is that understanding of that wise man? That the wise man does not grieve when his dear and dear ones passes away or leaves this world. For those people who have already left, for those who are here, they don't have any grief, they don't have any pain, misery, sorrow. What is that understanding? So here Shri Krishna says that wise do not grieve because they know this reality. And what is a reality? Dehesmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. So deha, our body goes through lots of changes from childhood to adulthood to old age. All these are the shat vikara of the body. As it is born, then it becomes, grows, pubertal changes, and then apakshiyate, it deteriorates, and then finally it comes to an end. At the time of death, it changes to another body. That is what is the wise person knows this. So that's why these wise men are not deluded at the time of death. Confusion occurs only when all this gets mixed up. You don't know who am I in reality. I think that I am this body, but I don't know that I am something beyond that. And this confusion, this mixture of Atma and Anatma is the root cause of the problems. And that's why Shri Krishna is giving us a clear distinction of what is Atma and what is Anatma. And it starts with Anatma because this is something that we see, we understand, and from here we have to go towards the final understanding of what is this eternal Atma Tattva, this pure consciousness behind all this. So this correct understanding and assimilation, which is also called Atma Anatma Viveka, this right understanding, something is what the wise persons have, and that's why they are not deluded. So how can we see this indestructible Atma Tattva behind all that is destroyed? Bhagavan Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, know that Avinashi tu tad vidhi, that you are that Avinashi Tattva, that Atma Tattva, that consciousness, that Atma, which cannot be destroyed. Everything is pervaded by this Tattva. It is omnipresent, it is everywhere, and nobody is capable of destroying this reality. It is always there. It is not that it comes and goes, or it comes and everything around this comes and goes, but that is the pivot of the existence around which everything revolves, and that is the pure consciousness. And the physical body, the Anatma, is very temporary. It says Antavanta ime deha. This body comes to an end always, and that is a reality. But they belong to that eternal Tattva. That is the one who is the Adhisthana, or the pivot or the fulcrum of all this. Anashinama aprameyasya, which is indestructible, which cannot be understood by any prameya or pramana, because it is self-knowing. And tasmat, he says, that's why you should fight this battle. So we need to understand that I and mind, we call this as my body, we call this as my mind. So when we say my body, my mind, that that I is somewhere different, and that is what I am, and I and mine cannot be the same. And that's why this drashta, drashya, viveka, we need to do this understanding will tell us that who am I in reality. We have to go gradually from one to the other step. And in this famous shloka of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan tells us, na chayate na mriyate va kadachita, that Atma is neither born, it never dies, and it is always there, it never gets produced, never comes into existence. It is Nitya, it has always been there, it is eternal, it is unborn, and it is always the same, ever fresh. And even when the body is killed, this Atma does not get destroyed. Na anyate anyamane sharire. Even when the body is killed, this Atma Tattva never gets destroyed. And that's why this is the understanding. And this another very famous shloka, Vasansi jirinani yatha vihaya. Body is just like a clothing, that just like a person sheds off his old clothes and then aparani navani gruhanati, wears new clothes. Similarly, vihaya jiranani sharirani, the Jivatma leaves this old body and then anyani navani sanyati dehi. This Jivatma enters into a new body at the time of death. And this is the understanding that we must have. If we can understand this reality, of course, we can't see this, but our scriptures tell us, and we need to understand this, then we can understand that life is a constant journey. It does not come to a stop when the physical body comes to an end. And with this understanding, we can remain composed at the loss of our near and dear ones. In the next few shlokas, Sri Krishna again describes that this Atma Tattva, this consciousness is avinashi, it is indestructible, it cannot be destroyed by nainam chintanti shastrani, cannot be destroyed by weapons, nainam dahati pavakaha, it cannot be burned by fire, it cannot be, water cannot soak it, neither the wind can dry it, and that's why it remains beyond all this Pancha Mahabhuta, and that's why it is completely different. It is the source of all. It is not an object which can be burned or destroyed or can be soaked or can be dried. It is not that. It is something. What is it? He says, Achedyoham. It is a self-evident. It is, again, he says that it cannot be destroyed, burned, and it is all-pervading. It is eternal. It is stable, immovable, and it is Sanatana. It is eternal without any change. And finally, it says that it has no attributes, there is no limbs, there is no structure, it cannot be seen, it is unmanifest, we cannot see it. Somebody wants to see it, it is not possible, it cannot be perceived by the senses. It is unchintya, it cannot be thought of by the mind, because even the Upanishads tell us, yato va nivartante manasasa, that even the mind and the words will not be able to reach there, it will come back. It cannot describe the Atma Tattva, the pure Atman. And avikarya, it is changeless, and we have to understand this is my real self, and that is what is the current understanding. If we understand this as our real self, then there is no reason to grieve, or a person who is a wise person who understands that this is my real self will never have to grieve. And then Shri Krishna now starts his teaching based on our belief, not the ultimate reality. So far he told us the ultimate reality. For most of us, it is very difficult to understand this Atma Tattva and Atma Tattva. This understanding is very, very difficult to assimilate in us. And that's why he tells us our routine beliefs, how we see life as it is. He says, however, even if you believe that Atma is always born and Atma always comes to an end, even if it dies, even then, he says, oh great warrior Arjuna, there is no reason for you to grieve. This is a reality. When you're going to be born and you're going to die one day, and you're dying or somebody else is dying, why do you want to grieve? Accept this reality of life, which is based on our belief. And again he says, Jatavya hi dhruvo mrityu, one who is born is destined to die. Dhruvam janma mrutasya cha, one who dies is sure to be reborn. Tasmada parihariyet, therefore that's something that cannot be avoided. What is the reason to grieve? There is no reason to grieve. You have no reason to grieve. He tells Arjuna very clearly that this is the understanding that we need to have, that even if we believe that we are born, we are going to die, but once we die, we are still going to be reborn. And if you believe this, even then, accept it cannot change this, there is no reason to feel sad. In the 10th Adhyaya, which is the Vibhuti Yoga, Bhagavan shows us where all we can see him in this universe, in this existence. And there he tells that he is describing his own self. He says, Mrityu sarvaharashchaham. He says, I am the death which takes away everything, sarvahara. I take away everything at one stroke at the time of death. Everything, all our wealth, our possessions, everything is gone in a second, in a split second. And this is what I am. Bhagavan says, even here you should see, this is my own doing. This is where I am. And I am the one who creates everything in the future. What needs to be improved, everything I am. In the 11th Adhyaya, which is the Vishwarupa Darshana, where Bhagavan Shri Krishna shows Arjuna this his majestic form, the Vishwarupa, how he is the, the Upadana Karana is in the creation itself, how he is just a part of the creation. And there, after seeing his very ferocious form where he is, destroying people, killing people, chewing people, there are a lot of all these shlokas. Finally, Arjuna asks Shri Krishna that please tell me, who are you in this ferocious form? Oh great Devas, I bow down to you. I desire to know you. I don't understand all these fearful activities that you're doing. I have never seen you like this. Please tell me who you are. And to answer this, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Kalosmi Aham. Bhagavan says, I am the Kala, the Sakshat Kala, the time itself. I am the death personified and Lokakshaya Purta Pravruta. I am here to work to destroy people. And if Lokan Samar Hartum Iha Pravrute, I am in action to massacre people, to destroy this world. And this is also my job. If we can see the Lord in this, then definitely it will help us to understand the divinity behind everything that happens. He says all the warriors in the opposite camp, Arjuna, even if you don't fight, they are not going to remain in the future. They are all going to be destroyed one day. You have seen this. And that's why Tasmat Uttishta, you be an instrument, Nimitta Matra Bhava. He tells Arjuna, you get up, fight this war, Yasha Labaswa, you get the fame, you kill those people who have already been killed, they are going to be killed in the future, but you get this, you do being an instrument, you get this fame, get the honor by the grace of the Lord, win over all your enemies and enjoy this prosperous wealth, this kingdom, all this by being already been killed by me. You become an instrument, Nimitta Matra Bhava. Sabyasachi says, if, oh Arjuna, you be an instrument in doing what best needs to be done, then this is a message to all of us that we should become like instruments in the hand of the Lord and do all our duties. Nimitta Matra Bhava, Sabyasachi, he tells, we must accept the higher power in our life, do everything that comes to us. He is the doer, I am the instrument. He has given me this duty, I am doing this duty to the best of my abilities. And this understanding helps me to surrender to this higher power, and it gives me peace of mind. It helps me to understand this, the cosmos, the existence, and that's how if I be like this Nimitta Matra Bhav, I would not blame or have guilt for some loss of my near or dear ones. I will not blame the other person or blame the situation, circumstances, or have guilt that I didn't do enough for my dear ones, so that's why they have to go away. Everything is destined. We have to be like a Nimitta Matra and do our duty in the best possible way. So this helps us to remain composed in the death of our near and dear one. This kind of understanding what Shri Krishna tells us in Gita Ji. In the 15th Adhyaya, which is the Purushottama Yoga, again Bhagavan is telling us this Jiva's onward journey on death. He says the Jiva leaves one body and attends another, a new body, along with the Sukshma Sharira, along with his mind and the senses. There is all the sanskaras and all these which are stored there. There is a gati or onward journey of this Jiva. And this is, he gives an example and says, Vayu Gandhar Nivashaya. It is just like as if the wind carries the smell of a flower from one place to the other. This is how, one body changes after death, and this Sukshma Sharir takes up another body. It is as simple as this, how the wind takes smell from one flower to the other. So essentially, what is death? We need to understand it is the only inevitable reality of life, and that's why we must learn to accept it gracefully all throughout our life and live life in such a way that we can really embrace it at the time when it comes. And yogis learn to celebrate death because they believe that this is like getting new clothes, this is like getting a new avatara, something like that. And in the eyes of the God, death is a trivial event. It is definitely not a sad one in the eyes of the eternal divinity, because it's like life and death, or birth and death are two inseparable sides of the same coin. And we have made it that birth is a celebration and death is a sad event. That is what we have made it as human beings, but they are just the same in the eyes of the divinity, in the eyes of the Lord. And death is necessary for survival and sustenance of this universe, to keep a harmony, to keep a balance of this universe. People, species, animals, everyone has to pass away because there is constantly this birth and death happening. Otherwise, the universe will become, impossible place for us to live. And that's why what we can do is to stay healthy and try to delay death as much as we can. But we should not fear death because it is going to be inevitable one day. That is the reality of this life. And the only way we can become immortal is to know our true self, our true existence, our true Atma Tattva, which is immortal. Na jayate, na mriyate va kadachita. It never is born, it is never dies. This body is like a clothing which will come to an end one day. But by knowing my real self, I can really attain immortality. I can get away from all the fears of death, of my own, or of the existence of my near and dear ones. And this is the understanding that Vedanta, Upanishad, and Bhagavad Gita teaches us to have. So with this, we come to the end of this session. I would gratitude towards the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. I pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara through which this knowledge is transferred, preserved, and to reach us. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and share the understanding with you. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parah Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.